I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man. I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man.
Congratulations, brother.
And here we go.
What's good, y'all? Hey, it's another Hangar Hangout. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the New York Jets finalizing their Super Bowl roster. We've been waiting for this for quite some time, right? I feel like officially, when this kind of stuff happens, the 53-man roster release is just letting us know that like things just got real, right? The season is officially here. We've got real legitimate NFL football kicking off next week. We're going to talk about it tonight. We're going to talk about the freaking 53-man roster. I've got some special guests coming on as well. We're going to go ahead and kind of break it down in regards to where we saw some surprises, where we kind of guessed it right, what we would have done, etc. Anyway, it's going to be a good night. But before we get to that, I need to go ahead and reiterate that last week, you know what I'm saying, we did the Will McDonald mini helmet autographed giveaway. And the winner was I Got Pia Fever. Now, I have not received any correspondence from you on any of my socials. You won the autograph Will McDonald mini helmet. I would love to get that out to you. If not, I'm going to have to go ahead and give it to the runner-up. So, again, I Got Pia Fever. I'm going to need you to go ahead and somehow, some way, either comment on this video. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at New York Jets Situation Report. Just trying to get your autograph mini helmet. If not, unfortunately, I'm going to have to give it to the runner-up, which is Infrared Jets Podcast. He was the one selected as the backup winner last week on the show on the Hangar Hangout. So again, want to make sure I got that out of the way. But now we're going to go ahead and talk Jets. All right. So as I was saying, the Jets freaking 53-man roster is decided. A lot of freaking teams across the NFL, actually every single team, had to go ahead and narrow it down. Some surprises I think were had. I think you're also looking at some situations where we made a trade to the Buffalo Bills, also kind of surprised me. But nevertheless, the rosters are finalized, and my guests are waiting for us in the background. So first and foremost, we've got Abby in the house tonight. Abby, what's good? How you doing?
What is up, Gunny?
In honor of.
We're bringing that back still. It's a habit. It's a habit.
It's been a while, man.
Forever, it feels like.
It has been a while. Ever since, you know what I'm saying, Jigga kind of went, and dismantled the squad, you know what I'm saying? It's been a while since we've been able to get on the show. And it's funny because our other guest for the evening is also another member of the squad. What's up, Geno? How you doing, brother?
Man, it's man. It's been a long week. It's been a lot of, ups and downs with podcasting right now, but I feel like everything is settled down. I feel like everything is come with a 53-man roster, and we're here. We're back, all three of us.
Yeah, and I think we're back for a real special episode because we're not talking about the hyperboles we're not talking about like the what ifs. We're talking about the actual 53-man roster. I know some individuals are going to say it's not finalized yet, perhaps, right? There might be a couple of surprises that get dished out. Some individuals are contemplating on maybe a tight end might get brought into the building, another potential wide receiver, maybe interior offensive line help. Either way, that's going to be pretty much the icing on the cake. I think right now when you look at this roster, there's a lot to be excited about. I'm going to pick your brains about it tonight, man. We're going to go ahead and kind of break it down. First and foremost, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to Dennis Wozrak for breaking this down for us on Twitter today. Now I'm going to make it bigger because it's a little bit tiny. We can't really read that. But he kind of broke down the New York Jets 53-man roster for us as well as the cuts and then the waivers. Saved me the trouble of having to do it myself. So I'm going to use his tweet today as the cheat sheet for us having the discussion. So I'm ready to go ahead and I gave him his props because it was definitely not my doing. It was his work that I'm over here plagiarizing.
That takes a lot of effort, too.
It does. So this is why I had to go ahead.
It's fine.
Had to give credit where credit was due because that was
for sure. Or someone's gonna be up your what later because you know how Jets Twitter is.
Yeah, I don't need the smoke. I will just give credit where credit is due. Definitely got that from Dennis. But let's talk about the offense first, right? The New York Jets kind of broke down the offense. And I think there's not a lot of surprises on the offense per se, right? I think that we kind of all were on the same page. I think some would say Israel have been kind of making it was kind of a surprise, but I think after what he did in the preseason, it's really not a surprise. Personally, I would have rather gotten Brandon Smith over Jason Brownlee as that big wide receiver to keep that seventh wide receiver. But again, minute things. Overall, I think like the majority of Jets Nation, Jets Twitter, who was doing their mock 53-man rosters, had this offense being the identified offense. So, Abby, what do you think about the 53-man in terms of the offensive side of the football?
I mean, you said it right. Honestly, there were no surprises here. I know initially going into training camp, it seemed like Izzy was always going to be the odd man out, but especially going against the Giants, I believe he had that TD run. I mean, you can't deny it. Kids got talent, and I believe looking last year, I believe the New York Jets, I could be wrong, so don't quote me, but I believe the New York Jets carried 4 running backs last year. So it's not anything different in terms of the running back room. I'll be honest, as looking at the wide receivers, I did it late last night on Instagram, but I'm not surprised. But to be honest, I don't know if I felt like Jason Brownlee really did a lot in training camp. I knew they were probably going to give it to him. I'm not saying he's not talented or anything like that. I feel like I didn't see a lot. There wasn't anything flashy. Obviously, it's a deep wide receiver room. So there's only going to be so much for him to grow and really show off his skills. But that was the one thing I was like, I could have seen it maybe going both ways. Maybe a hot take there, but I'm not saying I don't love the guy. Don't come for me. But and then everything else looks pretty normal on here. So yeah, not too many shocks there. This is kind of what everyone was putting out. So I mean, it looks good to me. Great offense just in general. It makes me even more hyped to get ready for September 9th. I just want to see this all finally put together. And I mean, this offense looks like it could be explosive.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more, right? I look at the wide receiver room, talk about an improvement from what we were trotting out there from last season. I look at that offensive line, and I can't help but just get giddy thinking about an offensive line specifically that's going to be able to protect Aaron Rodgers. And, of course, a healthy Aaron Rodgers and the backup quarterback with the New York Jets being Tyrod Taylor. I mean, across the board, I got to agree that I think this offense is night and day in comparison to what we saw last year. And hopefully, you know what I'm saying, knock on wood, no surprises. You know what I'm saying, everybody stays healthy, and we get to see these guys play 20 games of football this season. So, Geno, what's your take on the offense?
Guys, we got a football team. Oh my God. I get choked up watching just all the behind the scenes. I get choked up watching the games recently. It's just this team, we're only missing the offense. You know, there's other teams that just miss something to get to the Super Bowl, to get to the playoffs. We were just missing the offense. And right now, I'm not surprised that we kept Israel Abanikanda. I'm not surprised we kept Brownlee because the coaches really like these two guys. And people are going to pick their choice. People are going to pick their favorites. I understand with Smith, with you guys, that you guys probably want him. I understand with Izzy with everything. But overall, I like it. I think the offensive line's good. Tight end room is – you know, that I still think there's something going to happen with that. I know Yabo is on the pup list or whatever, but overall, I really do like this. And I don't think we're done on this offense. I really don't. I like how this was so far.
Yeah, Geno, we're getting some feedback, I guess, from your mic. I'm not sure if your speaker is on or what's going on, but we can hear ourselves.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, just giving you a heads up. But yeah, 100%. I think that when it comes down to what this wind up turning out to be, right, is we went into the offseason, the majority of Jets Nation realized that as excited as we were in having Aaron Rodgers last season, he wasn't going to be enough. There was no way that offensive line was going to allow that man to stay upright and get through an entire season. Could he have potentially snuck us into the playoffs? Potentially, right? We would have at least ended the playoff-less streak. But ultimately, what we brought him in here for was to be competitive, to be a contender. We saw holes throughout our offense. After Breece Hall, after Breece Hall, after Garrett Wilson, there were really not a lot of offensive weaponry to go ahead and really be afraid of on that roster. Conklin, I think, did a really, really good job being that third option as the tight end for us in the building. But, the plethora of quarterbacks we had to go through, none of them, in my opinion, were NFL caliber quarterbacks. And you're seeing now that lessons were learned, right? We didn't just have the fact that Aaron Rodgers was going to come back being the only thing that Joe Douglas and Coach Saleh thought to themselves, hey, once Rodgers is back, it'll fix everything. They also saw there were a lot of discrepancies on this roster because when you look at this roster, it's rebuilt, man. On the offensive side of the football, it's rebuilt. You're talking about a legitimate backup quarterback. You're talking about legitimate running back depth. Like Brees Hall, Izzy, freaking B. Allen, Isaiah Davis. I think at any given time you get those guys, snaps throughout a game. You're not freaking out about it. Whereas last season, after Brees Hall, we didn't know if Dalvin Cook was at any time last season was going to figure out how to play football again. He was clearly taking significant steps backwards in terms of where he was at when we brought him in. So we weren't. I don't know about y'all, but I didn't feel good about the offense. So looking at this roster now in terms of what this offense can be, like what are the warm and fuzzies you guys are getting in terms of what the offense looks like in terms of last season to this season? Go ahead,
I'll go
Abby.
first. I mean, I just feel like we have some gems, some like gems we didn't expect, and that's what I think the New York Jets have in some instances struggled with developing talent in the later rounds occasionally. And I feel like it's kind of all starting to, I feel like, be put together. I mean, I'm just excited more, and I've said it kind of all off season, this offensive line. I mean, when healthy and if healthy, this is a very strong offensive line, and it's just automatically going to make everyone else look better. Brees is going to look better. Obviously, Garrett Wilson and our quarterback is going to have time to throw the ball for once and everything like that. So, yeah, it's just honestly the whole offense, because we didn't have one, and now to see one finally put together. I mean, it's just hard not to get warm and fuzzy about the whole thing. We can finally look at maybe putting points on the actual board, which we struggled to do pretty much all last season.
100%. I think the biggest culprit of this is the fact that you had a defense play at an elite level and gave the offense so many opportunities to go ahead and just be relevant. And it was failure after failure after failure. So again, kind of like caveating off of that, Geno, what do you take from the offense in regards to what last year looked like and then going into this season?
There's more depth than we thought. I think now for it to come together, it looks good on paper. Now it's got to go on the field. This is going to come down to coaching now. This is going to come down to coaching and in our playmakers to be consistent every game and every practice. We got to do with Tyrone Smith because the Cowboys, they played it to a T with him now. You know what you do with Simpson and Moses because of their injury history. Vera Tucker. It's going to come down to coaching, and I think it got a little bit better overall with everything on this offense, especially now that we have a backup QB. Like, that was one of the most important things, and now we do. It's depth. I look at depth. I look at longevity, and right now, I love what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing.
Yeah, that's another thing too, right? I think this year, and again, I'm not wishing this. I don't want to take this to the test, nothing like that. But I think we look at this year and we feel a lot better if, for instance, we have to miss a couple of games. Rodgers, can't be out there for a couple of games. We feel a lot better if our left tackle goes down for a couple of games in terms of the depth you have behind that. I also noticed that the guys like the Carter Warrens and the Max Mitchells and the Xavier Newmans, to me, look like they've taken massive steps forward. Now, I don't know if it's them specifically that have just found the understanding of football, or they're going into year 2 and year 3 and it's starting to click, or if the new offensive line coach has been able to go ahead and put together a game plan that kind of like tailors to these guys' strengths. But throughout the preseason, one thing I have noticed is that the majority of these freaking guys on the quarterbacks on offense, they've had time. They've had significant amount of time to go ahead and throw the ball, identify where to go with the ball. Nobody's being rushed. The offensive line in general, seeing it as it is now, how comfortable are you in terms of it being a top-tier offensive line? What's the worst-case scenario you think for the offensive line? Do you guys want to add to it, or are you guys comfortable with that? Geno, go ahead and take this one first.
I think as of right now, I'm okay. This is the way I wanted the offensive line to look I wanted these guys. So as of right now, I'm good. But I think overall, though, down the line, as we all know, injuries happen. And that's where we need more coming in eventually, especially for the practice squad. But as of right now, I like this set and I like these guys.
Gabby?
I mean, I'm the same with Italy. Right now, I'm fine, but I can tell you right now, one of these guys is going to be injured. It's maybe going to be a game. Some looking at Tyron Smith, maybe longer. I know someone in the comments mentioned AVT and his recovery process and things like that. So someone's going to get hurt. I mean, Gunny, we've been saying it like O-line, O-line, O-line all off season. So if they want to add more, I am happy to have it because, like I said, knowing Jets' luck and what we've got, someone's gonna get hurt, and I don't think it hurts to have more backup. So again, I don't think they're done yet. You know what I mean? But right now, I mean, solid. It looks solid, and like I said, when healthy, this is easily like a top 15 offensive line, I think. And going into the offseason, all I wanted was the offensive line to be mid. I didn't want them to be, number 32. I didn't want to see 14 different combinations throughout the course of the season. And with this, I think we're going to, vastly better. I mean, it's just a complete 180. Looks completely different.
Yeah, like in a nutshell, when you look at it, right, you're talking about an all-pro at left tackle. I think you got Morgan Moses and Simpson, who both played at Pro Bowl levels last season. So you've got Elijah Vera Tucker. When he's on the field, he's considered one of the top guards, in the game. Now you've got, of course, Tippmann going into year 2. Like there's so much to like about this O-line. And I'll be the first to admit maybe it's the homer in me. You said top 15, but I think this O-line, if they stay healthy, could really be in that top 5 conversation. And not just because they're uber talented themselves, but Aaron Rodgers being the guy that can go ahead and identify and dissect a defense, at the line of scrimmage before he has to snap the ball, is going to allow those guys to have to go ahead and do their job significantly less amount of time than, what we would have dealt with last year. So those guys aren't going to have to be, holding up their blocks for 3, 4, 5 seconds. Aaron Rodgers is the kind of guy that can identify where he wants to go to the ball pre-snap. And that's going to also help this offensive line. Not to mention when you've got animals in freaking Breece Hall, Brandon Allen, Isaiah Davis, and Izzy back there. And Izzy, going on to him, man, I agree, man. I think that with him, he found a level of physicality to his game that he didn't show last season. He still has the burst, but the way he was playing in the preseason, constantly falling forward, bouncing off of tackles. I mean, the touchdown run he just had this past weekend was him bouncing off of multiple tackles to get into the end zone. A level of physicality to his game that potentially we didn't see from him before. Is it him going home and his parents getting in his ass talking about, hey, get your mind right. You don't want to go ahead and blow this up. Is it him being in that running back room with guys like Breece Hall and Brandon Allen and Isaiah Davis, who are all very physical, punishing runners? So either way, whatever rubbed off, it looked really good. And having him in the locker room as potentially a change of pace back, you got to like it. Again, there's nothing about the offense where I look at and I'm scared in any capacity. I think that you've got playmakers at every position group to include on the offensive line. I think if you had to look at this and had to dictate that there's a weakness in your offense, you look at the tight end room, right? But Tyler Conklin last year was a top 10 tight end in terms of stats with the worst quarterback play in the NFL with no real support. Like the offense was atrocious last year. So what can he achieve in terms of having Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback and the pressure taken off of him because you've got the Garrett Wilson, you've got Mike Williams, who's healthy and practicing now. Allen Lazard as a wide receiver 3 feels a lot better to me than Allen Lazard as a wide receiver 2. But I will say this. I think when it comes down to the depth component, if you had to go ahead and add depth to any position group that you're looking at right now, where would you want to go with it? Abby?
Man, this is really hard. I'm going to go with my gut, and I'm still going to go ahead and say offensive line because I think that was the piece that we needed to build in the offseason, and we did address it. But I mean, it's not like we addressed every aspect of it. And like I said, we're going against some tough teams the first 12 weeks of the season. I think the back half of our schedule is really easy. That first 12 weeks, I feel like this offensive line is going to get beat up, and we're going against some tough defenses. So I'm still going to go ahead and say offensive line, with wide receiver being very close second, I think, for me.
All right, Geno.
Yeah, I'm going to say offensive line. I think this O-line could finally open up the running game for Hall, Izzy, and Allen and Davis. That's what we've been struggling with for the last 2 years, is opening up to do what they got to do. And I also think my second one is the quarterback play. I really wanted a backup quarterback. That was one of my main things, is getting a backup quarterback just in case Rodgers goes down. And even me getting a third one. I don't even mind getting a third one eventually. If it works out with Rodgers and Taylor, that's great. But mine was definitely the offensive line and definitely a backup quarterback.
Yeah, it's crazy for me to be sitting here and kind of veering off of what you guys are saying, because the offensive line, when we first in the offseason came, we were all banging on the table for like, my gosh, we've got to go ahead and add as many pieces to it as possible. Oddly enough, I don't know if I'm just getting way too comfortable. I feel more comfortable with the depth on the offensive line. It's wide receiver for me. I look at wide receiver and I look at Garrett Wilson, and God help us, right? You know what I'm saying? Knock on wood. If anything was to happen to G5, Mike Williams, I think, is a capable wide receiver too. Maybe a high-end wide receiver too. He does get banged up a lot. People say he's injury prone. Not really. He plays, right? Yeah, since if you take away last season and his rookie season, he starts 93% of the games in his career. He does so banged up half the time. But the guy to me is a high-end wide receiver too. But if we lose him, then you have Alan Lazard slot back up to wide receiver too, right? Jason Brownlee hasn't really shown me enough, in my opinion. Xavier Gibson really hasn't shown us enough. Malachi Corley, my hopes are high for him. Love the pick, but you've kind of seen him being limited a little bit in the preseason. So the wide receiver room for me, actually right now, if I'm looking at this, would be where I'm going to show concern. And again, I'm hoping I'm wrong. If Garrett Wilson is on the field, we're good. I think he offsets a lot of those concerns. But for me, again, it's a good problem to have, right? Where we're trying to go ahead and differentiate between offensive line, the third quarterback option, and wide receiver freaking 5 and 6. Like, it's a good problem to have. But I think for me, that's where I look at it and think to myself, wide receiver is scary. Now, some people are going to say, well, Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback back there. He's going to be the one throwing the ball to these guys. He can make anybody better. And you're right? But I look at them and say, okay, what's the tier of getting better are we talking about? Can Jason Brownlee go from a competent 5 to a 4 with Rodgers throwing him the ball? Can Mike Williams become a 1B with Rodgers? Like, these are the questions you got to ask. But again, good problem for us to have, right? Like, so in the comments, I see you guys in the comments again, chopping it up with you guys. Appreciate you guys. One Jets Pod. We've got Johnny.
These
out
comments
there.
are going hard.
You see that, right? The comments.
What? I was like, geez.
Very nuts.
I saw you getting blamed for injuries happening already, Abby.
Yeah.
I see Frankie.
Oh yeah, like I'm jinxing it. I've jinxed
like
it the last 15 years.
If you're jinxing, then we've all been jinxing it for the last 5 years.
For too long. Bobby's out there. So, hey, thank you guys for chopping it up with us, man. We've got 64 right now watching the stream. Again, want to reiterate, since we're in the middle of this, if you are I Got Pia Fever, you won the Will McDonald autographed mini helmet last week on the show. Like, you were selected like live on the show. I haven't heard any correspondence from you. I want to get you your autographed mini helmet. Can't do that if I don't know where to send it. So I'm going to give you till Friday. I said it last week, but I'm seriously meaning this time. Friday, I need to hear from you on any of my social media outlets, to include this channel, to go ahead and get your contact information, to go ahead and get you your mailing address. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go ahead and give it to the runner-up, which is Infrared Jets Podcast. So again, Infrared is right now in the chats, hoping you don't reach out. So I got Pia Fever. I'm going to need you to go ahead and specifically reach out, because Infrared should have already gotten it over the weekend, but I want to give you one more week. But yeah, the chat is on fire, and I appreciate you guys shopping up. But if you have any questions for us, go ahead and throw it into the chat. We'll go ahead and pop it up. Daniel Murphy says,
what, Johnny?
What's up?
Give it to our boy.
Just give it to him. What's good?
No, going back to the last topic, I am really surprised you said wide receiver and you didn't say offensive line.
Yeah.
I am shook. Like, that's a big, if if anyone's been watching you, it's been offensive line, literally since February, and then now it's wide receiver.
It's
So
true, and we talk all
Yeah,
the time,
but
so
the whole
even in our
thing,
text
though,
thread, we're
yeah,
always talking about
it
offensive line.
changes all the time, though, guys.
It
Because
Yeah.
does.
there's so many things with this team.
But the thing is this though, in the preseason, seeing how well guys like Max Mitchell has played, Carter Warren has played, Xavier Newman, I wasn't expecting those guys to take these steps. In my opinion, I thought they were going to be as mid as they were last year, but they've taken some really drastic steps, in my opinion, in terms of creating pockets, and they're also very aggressive in the run game. I've been pretty confident now. Like, man, I think these guys could play. You know what I'm saying? A couple of games this year if need be as backup linemen. They've taken steps forward, in my opinion, which is why I don't know if it's another year of their development or perhaps it's the scheme. Either way, I'm happy with it because they've looked pretty good. But nah, Gabby, I get it. Me too. As you were saying, and I'm sitting there like, man, all right, I'm gonna have to be the one to, be the weirdo. But the wide receiver room actually worries me more than the offensive line.
I mean, you made really good points, though. You know what I mean? So it's not like I can't see at all where you're coming from. I mean, that was my close second, like I said. So obviously, just the offensive line came first. But yeah, I don't think it's like a hot take either. I think people should be able to see like where you're coming from, and you explained it honestly so perfectly. And because I know I was getting heat for like the Brownlee thing, but you like said it exactly how I wanted to, and it just didn't come out that way at the time. And I was like, you're right. I haven't seen enough of Brownlee. I haven't seen enough of Gibson, and lack of reps and things like that could be an issue. That's what I was trying to convey when you asked me earlier what I thought about the offense.
I know what you're thinking, Abby. I know what you're thinking. I got you. I got you covered.
Shout out to Wild Wave, though, because I was going to say that next. Keith Carter, what a magnificent job he's done.
Yes.
Like,
Thank
credit
you,
where credit
Wild
is
Wave.
due. So thanks for saying that, Wild Wave.
In my head, I was sitting there
Carter,
trying to remember the name of the offensive line coach, but I was like, oh, the offensive line coach. Yes, I agree.
Incredible job. Incredible turnaround.
Yeah, again, it's funny because I remember we were hearing conversations about how players apparently hated him and he was too hard and too tough and blah blah blah. Whatever happened, either he learned from that because you're hearing nothing but good things coming about him from the offensive line and the other coaches, or maybe he was just coaching a bunch of prima donnas who didn't like being coached hard.
I think that's it.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
I think individuals who just didn't like to be pushed, didn't like to be coached hard, and they were being some prima donnas because what we've seen in terms of the production or the output has been nothing but stellar. So that's a hell of an addition to the coaching staff. All right, boom, boom, boom. All right, cool. So that's the offense in a nutshell. But again, there's the offensive side of the football, and then there's, of course, the defensive side of the football. The New York Jets also were able to narrow down to their defense. Now, on this one, I don't know if actually no, I'm a lie. I'm happily shocked at to what they did on the defensive side of the football. I didn't think this was going to happen. I was hoping it would, but really thought that they wouldn't do it. But before I jump into it, I'm going to let y'all go ahead and go off about the defensive line. Go ahead, Geno. You take it.
I know. Geno's ready.
He's excited. He's ready. He's like,
exactly what I thought was going to happen. This is exactly what I wanted. And I think specific coaches came down on the defense that they want, and they got their way. I wanted Barnes, Surratt, Watts, Taylor, McGregor. These are dogs. And especially with McKinley, the shocking turnaround. And this is what I say about coaching. This defense has been doing. And also, I'm not shocked with what happened with Oliver. I wanted Oliver here. I know some people wanted Cordington, right? They got traded to the Bills. I get that. But I wanted Oliver to stay. I wanted Ashton Davis to stay. I am not shocked. I am happy as hell. This is great. This is great.
How do I follow that up?
I know. You're going to have to figure it out, Abby.
No, I mean, I love it. First of all, the defense was never the problem. You know what I mean? And after training camp, I mean, the defense has me hyped. Like, they're easily in my head top defense in the league. No one can tell me any different. I mean, I'm glad guys like Chaz Surratt made it. I know he was kind of maybe at one point in time talked about the odd man out a little bit, but I like him not only as a player, but as a person as well. A lot of these guys have just made such big, like Geno was saying, just big jumps, and I'm so happy. And honestly, you got some great stories in there. I mean, Stiggers, what a fascinating story. I mean, just absolutely incredible. And he had a long post today about his journey. And these guys have just come a long way and just added to what was already like a set defense and made it even better with it seemed like the Jets were kind of working with nothing. 3 undrafted free agents, that is unheard of. And we all wanted them to make it. I think all Jets fans wanted McGregor to make it, Leonard Taylor to make it, Watts to make it. And it actually happened. And I'm hyped. I mean, I'm ready for the Niners with this defense. Purdy better watch out. My uncle's already talking shit about week 1. And I said, you clearly don't know anybody that we have on our defense, because I can throw out big names like Quinn and Williams, and I can throw out big names like Sauce. You're missing half of this lineup, and this is deadly defense.
And there's so many issues with them right now.
Yeah.
This is the perfect opportunity to win this game.
It is. So I wind up tweeting something, right, in regards to like, hey, Trent, you need to go ahead and hold out and get your bag. You know what I'm saying? You've done great things, making that offensive line better. Hey, Geno, you want to mute? I can hear myself again. So I did a whole thing. Somebody was just like, how dare you? You wouldn't want to go ahead and face them at their best? No, I don't care. I don't care if they're hurt. I don't care if they're banged up. This whole like face them at their best, I don't care. You want to know why? Because whether we beat them when they're hurt, whether we beat them if they're fully healthy, doesn't matter. It's a W. And you know what? Every win that was taken against the New York Jets when they were banged up, had the worst quarterback played on, those things counted. They counted, and they still hold us liable because they don't care. No one cares. So I don't care. I don't care. I hope, you know what I'm saying, Christian McCaffrey can't play. I hope they decide they're going to rest him because it's the Jets. It's the first game of the season. Let's rest our workhorse. We don't want to go ahead and overdo it. I hope Brandon Ayuk doesn't sign a contract. I hope Trent Williams decides, you know what? I'm worth more. I made Laken Tomlinson a freaking Pro Bowler. Without me, this offensive line is nothing, and they have to pay him. I hope none of them play. Give me them when they're freaking limping. Why? Because I don't care. I don't care. This whole, like, you wouldn't want to face them at the bet. We'll worry about that in the Super Bowl. For week 1, let's go ahead and get some momentum going to beat these guys. So, yeah, this defense, it's went on a rant there. My bad. I got pissed off about thinking the text message, the tweet from earlier, the responses, but whatever. I think it's exactly what we needed to see, right? I did not think in a million years that McKinley, McGregor, Leonard Taylor, and Watts were all going to make it. I wind up taking the gamble and saying that Watts was going to wind up being on the practice squad. So I didn't think they were going to go ahead and do it, but they did. They did, and I'm so glad they did, because with what we saw from these guys in the offseason, in the preseason, what we saw from them in regards to how passionate they are about being on the Jets roster, I think that's what really sold me the most about these guys. When you get a microphone in front of them, they were talking about how awesome it is to be a part of this defense, how the coaching staff has freaking found their strengths and kind of elevated them. You're hearing McKinley talk about how, like, hey, listen, he fell in love with football again while playing in this defensive line. You're talking about a guy like Taylor talking about Miami wasn't using me right. Finally, I'm being used the way I'm supposed to be used so I can maximize my talents and my skill level. Taylor was supposed to be a freaking third rounder at worst, right? He was a 5-star recruit going into freaking Miami. Miami misutilized him, right? So he went undrafted. He comes here, you play him freaking in his correct position at defensive tackle. The kid feasts. People are calling him Baby Q. I mean, and if you watch him during the preseason, he's got some of the mannerisms of Quinn Williams. Like, it's like as if he's been spending more time with Q, trying to learn the game, because you see some of his mannerisms in his play. I think this defensive line is going to be a nightmare for freaking teams. And it's going to be a nightmare for Brock Purdy week 1, because why? You don't have your number 1 or number 2 wide receiver, however you want to look at it. You don't have Trent Williams. Christian McCaffrey might be banged up. And if you do have them, they're not at 100%. So we're going to force Brock Purdy to really play freaking quarterback this freaking week 1. And it's not just going to be on freaking Shanahan being able to scheme people open. I am so pumped for week 1. I went from us losing that game to I don't see a reason why we don't win that game. I really can't. I can't. We're going in there healthier. We're going in there, I think, deeper in terms of overall roster. Aaron Rodgers doesn't lose in primetime, and he doesn't lose to the 49ers in the regular season. I'm loving how this defense kind of turned around. Like, I'll say this. I was team freaking, you know what, Clemens can go to go ahead and keep some of the better talent. Clemens is still on here. I want to know if it's just me. What do you guys think about Clemens? Because I know he was a team favorite when he first came through. He got us with the whole bat, you know what I'm saying, shirtless arrival at games. It was awesome, right? But the dude has been more bark than bite over the last couple of years in the league. And for me, I was willing to risk him being on the practice squad, vice risking a Watts, a McGregor, or a Taylor. Again, ultimately, it doesn't matter. They're all here. But what are your feelings on freaking Michael Clemens? Go ahead, Abby.
The Clemens hate was so real. Like, no one wanted him on there. I threw it up on like my Instagram just to like see how people were feeling. It was like 70% of people didn't want him on there or something like that. They didn't want him on the roster. So he's here. You know what I mean? The coaches like him. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, and I think we've all known that. He really hasn't, I feel like, shown anything special. And then to be honest, we've had some of that off-season drama with him and whoever it was from the Bills, and they were arguing in the tunnel and whatever. So I don't know. I'm happy. I'm happy he's here. I would just like to see more, but you're right. I'm tired of seeing all the bark, like all that behind the scenes drama. Show it on the field where it counts. That's what I want from him. And he's a big dude. He's huge. You know what I mean? They call him Cyclops for a reason. It's like, I haven't seen it. But like I said, coaches like him. He's here. I'm happy he's here. And he rounds out the whole defense, but we'll see how Italy feels.
Geno?
Can you hear me? Is this still an echo?
No, now
you're good on my end.
Yeah, now it's
okay.
Clean.
Sorry about that. I never have this issue. So for me, I think he's going to be a trade piece. I think it's going to be one of those things. I think that's one of the reasons why he's still here. I would love to make him have him make that next step to being what everybody wants him to be. The coach is the way he wants him to be. The personality is not the issue. It's just continuing to grow. And for me, he's still here because they still see something in him. It's like an Ashton Davis. We all thought, why is Ashton Davis still here? Well, last year he showed it. There's something in Clemens that these coaches feel that he is here for a reason. Or, like I said, a trading piece. But overall, I'll take it or leave it.
Yeah, I think what it boils down to is that it's the Jets defensive coaches made this call, right? They want to keep the guy here. One thing I am not going to do is I'm not going to question the New York Jets defensive coaching. I'm not going to do it. Why? They've earned that in terms of how they've operated this defense over the last couple of years. You put out there a quality product in terms of defense, a top 5 defense, top 3 in a lot of instances when you had no offensive support. You're talking about a defense last season that took an average of 35% more snaps than any other defense in the top 15. So that tells you that they've done an incredible job, not just preparing these guys, but keeping these guys focused and sharp, even when things look gloom. Could you imagine being as a lead of a defense as the New York Jets have, knowing that you have to either keep teams from scoring or you have to score yourself to go ahead and win a game because you have little to no faith in your offense? That was the mentality our defense had to go out there in week after week after week. And they still put out freaking ridiculous numbers in performance. So I'll never question this defensive coaching staff. The same reason why they're not worried about Reddick not being there. I'm not worried about Reddick not being there. I love everything that I've seen from this defensive coaching staff. And another reason why I think, this is going to work out well for us is, I'm not sure if you guys saw it the other day, but I want to say it was on Get Up. And they were breaking down Aaron Rodgers, what he brings to the table, how he can be, what he might be, et cetera, et cetera. And a ridiculous stat was presented that I was not aware of. And that's that, simply put, Aaron Rodgers is 81-10 when his defense allows fewer than 20 points. Since 2016, he's like 35 or 36-2. The New York Jets, you see the little freaking thing, that allowed 20.9 points per game in 2023. And if you incorporate last year and the year before, they're right at that 20 points per game freaking average.
And it's insane. I had seen it because I saw the clip, but it's absolutely insane. So, I mean, we're just set up for success. I want Aaron Rodgers to get on the field and just shut everyone up. We've been hearing it all last season, all off season. He's just gonna get hurt again and blah blah blah. He can have what was his worst season? Was it like 2022 or something like that, where he had his worst season?
28 touchdowns, 3,900 yards. He's 64% completion percentage, but it was his worst season. He fell off of a cliff. Do you know what Jets fans would do for a stat line like that?
Thank you. Exactly.
Amen.
That's all
Amen.
we've been needing. I just want him to get on the field and just shut everybody up. After one
Thank you.
touchdown pass, just blow it all up. Everyone, can you imagine if we beat the Niners? Like, it's
Oh,
just
I know. Yeah.
ESPN, all the channels are going to have a field day. And all the Jets fans are finally going to be like, we've been telling you this. We've been telling you this. We've been standing on it. Everyone's been doubting us. And here we are. You know what I mean?
It's not like we're the butt of every joke anyway. So it's like we just need to shut everybody up. And this stat is going to say the same thing. This is an unbelievable stat. It's like, oh, it's the Jets again. I'm like, just watch. Just wait.
Personally, I've decided that every time freaking Aaron Rodgers does something ridiculous, I'm just going to go ahead and type in Twitter, asterisk, washed, LOL. That's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to go asterisk, washed, LOL. I'm not even going to go ahead and entertain it. I'm going to go ahead and enjoy this because I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be, at worst, a top 12 quarterback in the NFL. I think that is his floor. Aaron Rodgers does not need to be MVP Aaron Rodgers for this Jets team to win the AFC East and to go ahead and make the playoffs, potentially even be the number one team in the AFC. I say that because last season, the New York Jets, with no offense whatsoever, won 7 games. They beat several teams that made the playoffs. They took the Super Bowl champions down to the wire where they needed the refs to bail them out from catching an L. 5 games were lost by one possession last season. Aaron Rodgers can be freaking the 15th best quarterback in football, and I still think that's enough for this roster to win the AFC East. And that's just I don't care what anybody tells me, that's just facts. Everybody that got their wins last year against freaking Tim Boyle and Zach Wilson, Trevor Siemian, go ahead, be happy about that. Our defense held individuals down. So ultimately for me, when I saw the stat line, and I'm with y'all, I had no clue. It was that good. I was like, wow. I'm going to be out there and I'm going to say it. I don't think he's had a defense this deep and this talented in his entire career.
I agree with that. I agree with that 100%.
Man, Aaron freaking Rodgers, 81-10, 35-2 since 2016.
Doesn't he have, and I could be wrong, doesn't he have like a decent record on prime time or Monday Night Football or something like that? Or
10 or 9
he does.
or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Ridiculous. And again, in the regular season against the 49ers, he owns them as well. Like there's everything says that barring injury, Aaron Rodgers is still going to be Aaron Rodgers. His arm has looked incredible in the offseason. He can still make every single throw. Personally, I wanted him to play in the preseason just so he can know, like, the bullets are flying. He could actually get hit just to kind of really get an idea of, so how he's moving, how he's feeling. But a lot of people felt otherwise. You saw some injuries happen in the last preseason game, so everybody feels validated that he didn't get a chance to play, which is fine. Ultimately, I think that week 1 game against the 49ers, it is the hardest test on our freaking schedule. That is the hardest game on our schedule. If the New York Jets get a W against the freaking 49ers, I think it's going to break the internet. And be ready for it now, guys. Be ready for it now. I'm telling y'all, every Jets hater Bills fans, Dolphins fans, they weren't really at 100%. So-and-so didn't freaking good.
It's one game.
Yeah.
It's one game. Yup, it's one game. Be ready for it. Be ready for it because it's going to happen. Personally, I can't wait for week 1. We're a week away from regular season football. Next Thursday is the first game. Next Thursday, guys. We're back. It's official.
We've made it.
We did. We just had to get through it, but we finally freaking made it. But yeah, man, I'm pumped, man. Again, seeing the final product in terms of the 53-man roster, offense and defense, I gotta say I'm thoroughly impressed. I love how this team has carried themselves in terms of conversations. When you talk to individuals, everybody seems focused. I love the talk about how like they're done with the media, the hype of it all. They just got to go ahead and go out there and put in the work. I can't tell you enough, like how confident I am in this season because of how focused these guys seem to be. Wait, I think we got a. I thought I saw a super chat. Is that accurate?
I know. I don't know what's going on with the echo. I don't hear anything.
I hear the echo. It's Geno. I'm seeing
I
his
don't know
little
why.
things
I don't think
popping
it's
up.
me. I don't know why. I keep muting myself the whole time.
And
So
I'm muting myself too.
I don't know what it is. I've been muting myself this whole time. So maybe
That's
it's
weird, man.
I don't know. Sorry.
Did you guys not see a super chat? I saw a super
I
chat.
did. Yeah, I did.
Oh,
I
there
did
it is.
see
Found it. All right, super chat. We got born Jersey and living in Central PA. I always get I'm sorry for you in Jets gear. I finally come hold my head up. Gonna be a hard not to get cocky. Hey, listen, I feel that. Listen, I'm in Houston, Texas right now, and I rock my Jets gear constantly at work. There's Texans fans, there's Cowboys fans, a bunch of losers as well. But they think they're better than me. So to actually go into this season where I walk into the building and nobody can say anything to me is going to be nice. But I'm with you, man. I was raised in New Jersey. I've worn my Jets gear in South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, now in Texas, and it's never going to stop. Win or lose, I can't help it. I love the punishment, I guess you can say. But I'm a diehard. But this season, I believe wholeheartedly, this season, it's finally going to pay off. All the shit we've been taking from people, man, for all these, it's going to pay off. Because you know what? All you need is one. People always forget, like every freaking team goes through that shitty cycle, and then there's the turnaround. Every team has the turnaround. I think it's our time. I think we're due. I think we're well overdue. We've been paying the piper. We've been catching a lot of L's. So jet it out, man. Listen, you know what? It's okay. Finally, you're gonna be able to rock your jersey, and people ain't gonna be able to say shit to you.
Our team is the team that everyone wants to see us lose, to fail, to say same old Jets. We are the point of every single joke, everything. It doesn't matter if you're a content creator, doesn't matter if you're an analyst, it's anybody. This is the year that this is going to come together because we can actually win the AFC East this year. Like I'm looking at the Bills and Dolphins and Patriots, and I'm not even worried about them. Will we lose probably one or two games out of those three because Vegas gets them twice? Yes, but I still think we could bounce back. That's how confident I am this year. That's how pumped I am against this year. I already get hate at home. We all get hate at home. We all get hate in our families. We all get hate in our friends. But this is the year we shut the hell up to everybody. So I'm excited, man.
I actually
Abby, how
think
you
we
feel?
can sweep Buffalo this year. They look like they're going downhill. And was it Matt
Their
Milano's
defense sucks.
out for the season? So I was like, oh,
Miami's the only team I think really
It's
that
just
we
their
got to
offense,
worry.
though. It's just their offense.
It's their offense,
That's
but
it.
that's a high powered offense. I look at Miami and I think we're going to split with them. I don't think we sweep everybody in the division. If you told me I had to bet money right now, who do we sweep? It'd be the Patriots and the Bills. We already know that this defense has Josh Allen's number. He never plays well against us. Zach Wilson can beat him. Aaron Rodgers can annihilate. So I really look at it, and the only team in the AFC East when I look at it and thinking like, man, if they figure it out how to get a little more physical to add to their finesse, they could be a problem come November and December. And I'm gonna respect that speed. I'm gonna respect that offense. I think we split with those guys, but again, if they seem to be so focused on the finesse aspect and this part right here, the lack of attention to their O line,
exactly,
I think is why they're going to not be able to achieve the goals they want to achieve. And you know what's crazy when it's not just like, other fan bases talking about it. I follow a lot of Dolphins guys. I talk to a lot of Dolphins guys. My brother's a Dolphins fan. All of them say the same thing. The offensive line and how freaking their GM has just left it to – it's atrocious. You got freaking Tua talking – they ask him, hey, how do you feel about this offensive line? He's well, I get the ball out fast. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't really matter. But it does. Because we saw when your first read is taken away and you need the time to process the field, you can't. So much so that people don't even know if he can process the field. So I think that's going to be their undoing. But for me, when it comes to the AFC East, the only team I look at and think, man, it's the Dolphins. And why? I respect that offense. That's a lot of speed. They're going into year 3 now in this offense, and you usually know year 3 is when everything really tends to kick off when you implement a new system. So they're the one. But yeah, I'm with you, Abby. I think freaking the Bills. I think the Bills are going to go ahead and catch 2 L's from us. I know the Patriots are. I have no doubt in my mind the Patriots are going to go ahead and lose twice this season against the New York Jets.
Especially Judon. Especially Judon being traded. You already know that's a melting pot when that happens.
When they traded Judon, I realized then they've accepted the fact that they're going to be rebuilding. Okay, they're done. They're rebuilding and they know it. They don't even care. But
Facts.
All right. So we talked about the defense. We talked about the offense. Now, of course, there's some special teams considerations here, right? We no, this isn't it. But actually, let's talk about this. So, did not report Hassan Reddick, Jordan Travis being put to the reserve. Reserve retired Tariq Cohen. Now, we already knew that. And then the IR, we've got Fotu, Malik Taylor, and Kenny Yeboah. Hassan Reddick. Hassan Reddick's been putting out these cute little videos of him working out, right? Oddly enough, it came after the Jets' defensive line feasted against the Giants for a total of 8 sacks. All of a sudden, these workout videos are popping out all over social media. I personally think it's comical. I think it's his agent trying to go ahead and be like, hey, show them what they're missing out on.
Exactly.
Should have showed up to freaking camp. We would have actually known if we were missing on anything. But what do y'all think the Hassan Reddick situation looks like? Are y'all worried about Hassan Reddick? Do you think he's there week 1? Are y'all over it and are just ready to focus on the guys we have in the building? Abby, you go ahead and take this one first.
I'll be honest, I'm starting to get over it. And honestly, I think it was Adam Schefter today saying there's no progress being made. So there's no conversation going on. I don't know why he still thinks maybe he has any leverage. Again, 8 sacks with nothing but backups. And you know what? I'm glad JD and I'm glad Salah are we're focusing on the guys that are here in the building. Dude, you're welcome to come whenever you want to come. If he wants to show up for the playoffs, and go ahead, come then. You know what I mean? But I'm quite frankly over it. He's not going to get the money that he wants anyways from us. So, he's going to need to play. And there's a reason, you're right. He started working out after the timing of it all. There's a reason, you want to start working out now. Dude, just show up to the building, man. They didn't even say anything else. You've already now missed everything. Just show up to the building and let's get back in good graces. You know what I mean? But right now, his attitude and he's been pretty quiet. He hasn't really said anything outlandish or anything like that. But I still do think we need him. I would like that extra depth piece. Obviously losing Bryce Huff, which I still think about daily, I feel like sucks. But I'm getting over it at this point. And because there's nothing going on, I kind of forget about it. And I'm more focused on the 53-man roster that we just had out today. And everything else on here, though, I'm not really surprised either. We already knew Jordan Travis was going to have a redshirt year, but Italy, I don't know what you think about Reddick. I'm quite frankly over talking about it. And it's old news now.
Geno?
He said from the start, no one's going to see this coming. No one's going to see what's going to happen. Well, his words, his agent is not doing a good job to help him set up for the future. This is all I just don't think it's the player, but the player's always going to listen to his guy. So he's going to have to put in extra amount of work to get back in this team's graces. You already left a mark for the last few months. This is an even bigger mark when this is a Super Bowl caliber team. He's going to have to work his ass off to get the respect and the brotherhood back. Whether he's here or not, I still like this team. He is going to be a great, he's a great player. He would help us further down the line. There's no question about it. And I love the Bryce Huff thing, Abby. That was funny. But overall, it's an is what it is situation. There's a lot of holdouts right now in the NFL right now too, and they're going through all those situations. It sucks that it's the Jets again. So it is what it is.
Yeah, personally, I think I know the Giants game is where we're looking at it. We're thinking, oh man, he lost leverage. But for me, he lost all leverage when this press conference was had a couple weeks ago.
That you were hoping for an extension in New England, and I wonder now, you're in a new location, do you reset and just try to get comfortable and then worry about that, or would that still be a priority for you here, even though you just kind of learning your way around?
The Atlanta Falcons know nothing about me as a football player and as about me as a man or, that stuff. They really know my previous resume, and so I can't really demand or ask for anything that I haven't worked for, and that's where I've been my whole life. So I'm gonna work for it, man. You know, I got my GV hat on, man. I came from D2, so I'm gonna work for it, huh?
And I've been rooting for Judon to get the bag ever since I saw that press conference.
Me too.
Been rooting for the man to get the bag. I think the approaches are what really matter here, the difference in it, right? I think if he had shown up, like JD stated, show up, be in the building, we can have conversations. We'll not be having all this stuff. He wouldn't have lost all this money. He's already lost almost $2 million, $2.5 million. He's going to lose more. I think this is going to be a guy who's really going to push this into week one in the hopes that the Jets lose or they can't get to Brock Purdy, and then he's going to feel like he has leverage. I think he's going to be sadly mistaken because I think that rotation is going to beat up on what is some mid offensive linemen. It really is impressive to me how much Trent Williams makes everybody around him better, right? Like we saw Trent Williams make freaking forget that dude's name. I keep forgetting his name, but offensive lineman that we got from the 49ers that robbed us.
Tomlinson.
Thank you. Laken Tomlinson. He made Laken Tomlinson a Pro Bowler and got paid. We've since realized the dude can't play football. Like he's getting tossed around by second and third stringers right now in freaking training camp. It's been embarrassing. So, and then you're seeing the 49ers offensive line struggle throughout preseason. You know, Purdy's running for his life against when they've kept him out there as long as he have second stringers and third stringers. So the offensive line right now is in shambles. So this isn't going to be the game where he thinks it's going to be like, oh man, look, they couldn't get to the quarterback. They need me. One, I think they're just going to win that game. Two, I think the defensive line is going to feast that game because one, you don't have Trent Williams. And even if you do bring him in, you're talking about, you know, he hasn't been in training camp for the last month and change. There's a process to getting into football shape. And I know you can work out and you can go ahead and do your cardio at home, but those reps matter. And he's a little bit older. So I think as you're getting older, you need to make sure you're staying in that football shape. So not saying that, you know what I'm saying, he won't be there, but I don't think he's going to be there at 100%. Nevertheless, I like our defensive line against our offensive line anyway. So, yeah, I look at this, man. I'm not upset about it. Hassan Reddick not being there, don't care. Everybody who's like, "Oh, woe is me," and I'm gonna disagree a little bit in the try. You both said that we need him. I don't think we need him. I think we want him. I want him to be on this team. I want him to be in that rotation. I think if he's even 40%, 50% of what we think he can be, which I'm starting to question whether or not that is true. There's a reason why I think last season he didn't have a single sack in the last 5 games. His pressures were down across the board. 4 of his sacks came against bottom 20, the 28th ranked offensive line to the 32nd ranked offensive line, 2 of them being against us. Like a lot of the production that people were looking at from last year, I'm like, well, if you really break it down, he took several steps backwards. It was a declining year. In the same token, if you can tell us that Aaron Rodgers had a declining year freaking when he was a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, you can still look at his freaking production last year and realize like there's something there. And for me, I know you said, Geno, that like you think it's just the agent, but I think he's worried about trying to get paid off what he can produce now. And he's hoping that his production in the past, his past production can go ahead and get him paid. I'm really starting to have some question marks in regards to exactly how good he can be. And if last season was more telling of who he is now, vice the collective of the last 3 seasons, or 4 seasons. So for me, I'm not worried about Hassan Reddick. If he shows up, great. I do believe he makes this defensive rotation better. I do believe that. But I still believe this is a top 5 defense without him. Jordan Travis, love that. I love that he gets to actually sit, learn, go through walkthroughs, no pressure of having to start. You've seen it happen with guys like Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, and how they flourished. I think the guy has a lot of talent. The game, whether he can slow the game down, is the biggest question mark. So I love this for him. Tariq Cohen, we already knew that from months ago. Fotu, Malik Taylor, Kenny Yeboah. I guess the injuries were a little bit more concerning than we thought. So, you know what? Get healthy. Do they bring them back? I don't know. I think if this rotation is rolling, though, they're probably not going to mess with the formula. But
sorry.
Go ahead.
I think overall I'm happy Jordan Travis is going to get the time that he needs. We haven't seen this. I know he's been injured, but just to redshirt him for the first year. I mean, I haven't seen that in a very long time. This is the prospect that we all think that what he can be is our future when Aaron Rodgers leaves. I think overall we got to thank Hassan Reddick a little bit and his agent. We wouldn't find out about Watts, McGregor, McKinley, and a bunch of other guys that have stepped up with this coaching staff that has proven that you could take someone from an undrafted player or a nobody and produce them like we did with Bryce Huff. So it's a little bit of both.
And Reddick is only one little aspect of our defense. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
he's just a smidgen. He's the cherry on top. I've been saying it all the time. He's the cherry on top of an already amazing freaking dessert, right? Like he just adds that little extra oomph to it. I don't think he's going to be the difference maker in whether or not this team makes the Super Bowl or not. Can he be the difference that we're the number 1 defense in the NFL or the number 3 defense in the NFL? All right, I'll see you there. I'll give you that. If he still has it, he could be that difference maker. But this team, I think, without question, is still the top 5 unit. And I think the biggest help to this freaking defense is not going to be any one player that we've added, but the fact they have a complementary offense on the other side of the football that's going to, 1, allow them to rest, potentially play with the freaking lead. We have not seen what this defense can actually do in the last 2 years because they've never had a chance to actually get after quarterbacks with the lead. Unfortunately, that hasn't been our story. Our offense might have more impact on how good this defense can be this season than any one player that we freaking added. All right, so I know we're my bad. I told you guys an hour, and here we are freaking going over that. I apologize, and I appreciate you guys for giving me a few more minutes of your time. So these were the individuals who were waived and individuals that were freaking cut or in the next freaking slide. But in terms of individuals who were waived, are you surprised by any of these? And who do you think the Jets bring back for the practice squad?
I mean, looking at the list really quickly, I mean, I think Zach Kuntz, I feel like he's almost there. And I feel like he's just, I don't know. I feel like they bring him to the practice squad. I hadn't actually seen this list, so first time seeing it, looking at the names real quick. Geno, you want to take it first?
Yeah, I think Lavayo, Cole Lavayo, UFL. I've seen him up close play since working for the Battlehawks. I really like what he brings. It's unfortunate he didn't make the team, but I do like the players that were before him. I think he comes back. I think Coots comes back. I think Hector comes back. And I think Blades too, but overall, I think the guy that I think me and Gunny and maybe you too, Abby, want the most. I really want Smith back. I think 100%. He would be such a great talent. I know that they love Brownlee, and I get it, but man, Smith was balling, man. Even just him talking to Aaron Rodgers, picking his brain on behind the scenes. I love everything about this guy. I think those 4 or 5 players I mentioned are going to come back. And honestly, Chris Glazer, he always finds a way to come back. So he always finds a way.
He'll be back.
Jalen Key, though, I don't think he will be. I think he will be picked up.
Yeah, so when I was looking through this, and I was looking at it and trying to dissect it, for me, 100% without question, you got to bring back Adrian Martinez. I think he's going to be our practice squad QB, that QB3 in emergency situations, whatever the case might be. I think you look at Brandon Smith. I think he's coming back. I don't believe for a second they didn't love the kid. I'll say this: there's some frustrations about that I guess you can say team loyalty sometimes that Joe D might have in regards to somebody that that's been with the team for a little bit while longer. I think Brandon Smith outplayed Brownlee in the preseason. I think he did. I think Brownlee in practice, it looks great. It looks awesome. But in game, we haven't seen it. Whereas you saw in practice and in game, you saw Brandon Smith doing big boy things. 5 contested catches, and they were game impacting contested catches in the preseason. My man went 100%, 5 for 5, 100%. So that to me is something that I hope we can sneak him on. But I just saw Jaden kind of bring it up as well. I do believe he's going to get snagged up. I think he put enough on tape in the preseason to where a team's going to look at him and think like, man, this kid's hands are for sure. Like he can catch the ball and he might get scooped up. I'm hoping he doesn't, but he might. I do believe Xavier and Valadez will be back as well on the practice squad. I think Jalen Key does come back, man. And I say that because you got to figure if you snatch him off the practice squad, you got to put him on your 53-man roster. And did he show enough to warrant a spot on the 53-man roster? I just don't know if you know what I'm saying, if he did enough.
It's hard. It's hard for
exactly. Exactly. So
I can see it go either way. But if they want a project player, he's your guy.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. You bring him in. You're seeing how Bernard Converse has kind of like gone night and day in regards to like how he's blossomed. He was one of the better defenders in the preseason before he got hurt. So I think that they look at him and think, hey, we can go ahead and do the same with you. You know what I'm saying? To get you there. So I think it's Martinez. I think it's Key. Honestly, man, I don't know if Kuntz comes back. I think if they're going to bring back a tight end, you might as well bring back Lincoln Sefasek, because I actually thought Sefasek might have done enough in terms of the passing and the blocking game to where he warranted some attention to bring back. Kuntz, man, as the 99 Raz, the big, fast guy that looked cool, can't play football. He just can't play football. Like he hasn't figured it out yet in year 2, and it doesn't look like he's even taking baby steps to get better. The one missed touchdown pass from Adrian Martinez, where it literally in stride, right between his hands. Once I saw that, I was done. I was done with him at this point. Listen, man, maybe you should go do track and field or something, because football ain't it. So I don't think Kuntz comes back. It wouldn't shock me if he does. And I think Braden Latham or one of the offensive linemen make a return. Maybe it's easy, but that's the only one I look at and I'm thinking to myself, Glazer's definitely going to come back. The dude always finds a way.
Yeah, dude, you could pick him up.
He's
off
always
the street
there.
always there, man. Seriously, he's just that guy. And also, Ize, man, I've seen you everywhere, and you just keep getting cut, man. Go to the UFL, bounce back, because it's just not working out for you. I say it's like with the Lions. I've seen them with Hard Knocks, and then all these other teams bounce around. Do what Leveo did. Bounce back in the UFL, maybe CFL, and then work your way back, because I think he does have talent. It's not at the NFL level right now, but he does. I think eventually that could be a work in progress.
That's fair. And these were the individuals that straight out released. Individuals who they didn't actually submit for waivers, which was kind of surprising. I don't know if I'm not familiar with the rules. Maybe because some of these guys are veterans, they've been in this for a while. Maybe they can't put them down to waivers. I know Tenzel Smart, he'll be picked up by our practice squad probably. Or honestly, defensive line wise right now, when you're looking around the league, there's a lot of people hurting for defensive line help.
I agree. See, that's exactly what I was going to say. There's a lot of holes. I think Smart's going to go somewhere.
Yeah, he might find his way on the freaking roster. Anybody on this list that kind of look at Abby and you thought to yourself, man, why?
I was a little surprised by Tanzel Smart, to be honest. Just because, and then when we got Hard Knocks last year, they seemed really big on him. You know what I mean? Everyone else, though, I'm tired of Jake Hansen. Thank God.
I'm over him.
And then I'm not surprised with like Austin Siebert kicking. So yeah, no really surprises here besides Smart for me.
Yeah, Siebert, I'm not going to lie to you. Siebert, I thought they were going to kind of hold as a trade piece maybe. I don't know. In my head, he did so well in the preseason. I thought they might just hold on to him, get a 7th rounder for a team that's looking for more of a sure thing. But speaking of sure thing, Greg the Leg had 2 misses in the past freaking preseason game, which...
Yup, I was thinking that too.
Very weird. A little bit.
I didn't know if you were going to go there or not. I was like, I didn't know if you were going to go there. Bro, that's concerning. A little concerning.
Maybe it was an off
San
night.
Francisco. He's going to San Francisco, California.
I'm not even going to speak a jinx into existence. I just wanted to say it surprised me. Was not expecting that at all. And I think that was the majority of Jets fans. Greg the Leg missing those 2 easy chip shot field goals. Wasn't a fan of that. But other than that, nothing here really surprises me. Tanzel Smart, whether he comes back on the practice squad or not. Anthony Fersker, actually, I think he might get picked up. Other than that, there's nobody here that I'm like, oh, no, why? Why did we have to let them go? Which is why I again, go back to this 53-man, and this is one of those situations where the Jets, in times past, we'd be looking at the 53-man like cut day, and we're not looking at like what our team's going to do. We're looking at who are the other teams going to drop that we can go ahead and add to our roster and actually get better. That's been our story for the last several years. What are other teams going to drop so we can go ahead and pick them up and make our team better? And I got to tell you, I didn't really care much for what other teams did. I was curious about what we were going to do with our 53-man, and I'm pretty positive we're going to have a few of our guys picked up. They're going to get claimed in waivers as well. And the Jets have become the team now where other teams look at them and they're like, oh, they dropped who? Hey, let's go ahead and add them to the roster. So complete night and day situation, complete 180. And again, I know I've taken much of your time, guys. I appreciate you guys for getting on here and talking Jets football with me. I feel like it's been too long. We've got to make sure we do this again sometime soon. But, hey, drop the channels, man. Let the people know where they can go ahead and find you guys.
I'm at Ab 602-434, and no, it's not my number. Don't even try. On Instagram, and I'm on TikTok. And me and Italy might be doing some TikTok live stuff, so you should really head over there. I know it seems like a little bit of a dying little social media platform, but I still get a lot of heat with the TikTok lives. People on there are wild. I thought these comments were wild. It ain't nothing compared to a TikTok live.
Geno?
Joined the Batter Network. Now I'm going to be part of the Batter Jets fans now. And also, I am doing a lot of stuff with Gangrene Germany, the UK Jets, and just everything else. I have switched a lot of my focus to the European style with their French, trying to build everything up in there. That's coming out in a few weeks, but those are the Jets contact stuff that I'm doing now, and I'm loving every minute of it. And just saying, we got the best uniforms in the whole NFL, just saying, because it reminds me of the Sack Exchange, and Chuck Clark completes this team. That's my take.
I just realized you guys are wearing the same hat.
Yeah.
The whole time I didn't notice. And I'm
Really?
like,
Oh, yeah. Nah, I noticed it the moment he came on. I was just like, yeah, buddy. Great minds. Great minds. Speaking of freaking gear, right? Listen, if you're ever looking for your autographed memorabilia, this guy right here, Geno the Italy Jet, that's my connect, right? Everything you guys see, like that Namath jersey back there, when I'm doing my giveaways, yeah, they're sponsored by other individuals that allow me to go ahead and buy. But this guy right here finds great deals for me, makes it all possible. Geno, nothing but love for you, bro. Ever since I met you in New York, you and I have been pretty tight. And yeah, if you're looking for autographed memorabilia, this is my connect. If y'all didn't know before, I always plug them just so y'all know. That's the man right there. Geno the Italy Jet is how I'm able to get all this stuff. Again, that Namath freaking right there, that man. Everything in the box that I have over here to my left that I'm going to be doing giveaways on for the entire season came from that man. So, Geno, again, I appreciate you, man, finding quality product for me and also hooking it up, man. I really appreciate you.
Man, I appreciate that, man. That's kind words, man. I appreciate you, and I appreciate Abby. Appreciate this channel. Appreciate the chat. But yeah, Gunny, man, me and you, we always go way back. We always start channels together, and then they fail, and we find some way to come back. So it's always a merry-go-round. So, but I love it, man. I appreciate you. And hey, I gotta show everybody this. I came across one of my favorite autograph players, and Gunny, I don't know if I showed you this, but this is the Gastineau one. 8x10 JSA. I'm keeping this for me, but man, it's sweet with that Jets logo, man. So shout out.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. So he got me in the last package. He sent me.
Oh yeah, I think I know what you're gonna say. Yeah, I think I know what you're gonna do. Yeah, there you go. The Brees
An autographed Brees Hall freaking picture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Listen, I was originally going to give this to the people. I'm not.
nah.
This is staying in my collection.
I get it.
This one is staying. But yeah, but again, if you're looking for memorabilia, again, Geno's the man. He figures it out. He knows people that knows people, and he makes it happen. So without further ado, that's it for me. We appreciate you guys for chopping it up with us. Again, you can go ahead and check out Abby and you can check out Geno. Their socials are in the description. Go Jets. It's a great time to be a Jets fan, man. Enjoy this. I mean, best roster I think I've had in my lifetime. I'm the oldest person on the panel, so I'm going to assume it's in our lifetimes, right? So,
yeah, team, our lifetime. Yeah.
I mean, this team can really achieve a Super Bowl. I really believe that. I think health is our biggest competitor in the AFC East. I'm going to look over my shoulder at the freaking Miami Dolphins. They're the ones I worry about the most, but I would love to see a freaking clean sweep of the AFC East. Talk about bragging rights if we could go ahead and pull that off. But baby steps. First off, let's knock out the San Francisco 49ers, and then we'll take it from there. So, again.
Us against the world.
Us against the world.
Jerseys.
Hey, we're all we got.
Logo in the
we're all we got.
What a way to bring them back, baby. Win a Super Bowl. It's the logo.
Hey, we appreciate you guys, man. Y'all have a good night. Hey, till next time, go Jets.